not your office. You are on the road, and no offense, because I do like talking to you when you're at home and everything, but I'm glad golf is back. I'm glad you're back on the road. What a week it's been so far, right?
Yeah, that's awesome to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I'm just shot back from Colonial Country Club here to the Fairfield Inn, and wrapped up a nice hot day here at Fort Worth, Texas, at Colonial, and we are excited to be back. The PGA team is, we can't really begin to think about how long it took for this day to come for us to get back. So we're excited.
Yeah, and obviously, look, this is a crazy time for all of us. Certainly nothing to do with the golf. And look, we're hoping you can learn a little bit here. Jacob manages our PGA Tour team here at Callaway Golf. So we're going to kind of get him to break down his weekly job, learn some of the differences as to what COVID has brought in terms of how they can work with the players, because things have changed pretty differently. And of course, the main thing is we want to answer your questions. So Jen, Josh, and Matt are in the background looking at Facebook. They're looking at Periscope, which hits Twitter, and also YouTube. So if you have questions, send them to us and we will ask Jacob your question. So first, Jacob, take us through a typical week of what it would be like for you managing Callaway's PGA Tour team. And then as you're doing that, tell us what the differences have been because of the COVID-19 restrictions.
Sure. So each week, actually right now, we're starting to look at next week's field. So kind of, Jeff, what happens is, as you may know, is, the tour, the guys have until Friday at 5 o'clock to commit to the event. And so we're kind of monitoring that list and, looking at who's going to be playing, starting to prepare, ordering in soft goods or clubs for next week. And then from there, we start looking and what needs they may have. So this one was a big week, obviously, because we got 28 staffers in the field and we hadn't seen them in 12 weeks. So, every guy needed something this week, pretty much, whether that's, lies, lofts, regripping, maybe some club work, those types of things. So, we kind of start a list about 2 weeks out. We sent some players, a text message, let them know it was going to be busy, be proactive. And, we got a overwhelming response. And so when we showed up on Sunday, we actually, worked for about 6 hours to kind of get ahead just because we were so far behind. So for us, it's, we're looking at the field. We're, figuring out which guys need driver work, which guys, may need some putters. Joe Toulon does a great job with our putters. So, those guys are, guys that switched out. We're following putter stats, strokes gained on the putting green. Was there someone that putted bad? Should we send them a text? Driver, following shot link, we use a lot of analytics to follow all that stuff. So, we're always kind of, as Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are going, we're planning for the following week. So this week was a little bit different because we haven't seen these guys in a couple months. So for us, we didn't really know what we were getting into. So for the most part, lots of phone conversations, lots of, Zoom meetings, FaceTiming. And then obviously this week with, the procedures that the tour put in as far as we're not able to, physically hand a club to a player. It has to go through what they call a sanitation station where the club is sanitized by some volunteers and then they give it to the players. It's been challenging, but, we've done a great job of working through that. Johnny Thompson and Joe Toulon are at home, kind of working virtually, talking to guys, putting in orders. We're building them on the truck. We're running them to the sanitation station. If something needs to be adjusted, it's got to go back to the sanitation station, back to the truck. We clean it. We work on it. We clean it. It leaves the truck back to the sanitation to the player. So, things are taking a little bit longer than normal, but, by all means, we'll take it because we're back out here and, safety's first. So.
Can you say sanitation station 5 times fast?
No, absolutely not. But I think we've said it probably 500 times this week. So
yeah, that's crazy. So talk to me. You talked a little bit about before we started with Matt Wallace working on a 3-wood. So normally when you guys would work with a player on a particular club, you'd go to the range, you'd watch them hit it, you'd have a TrackMan, you'd look at numbers, you'd literally take the club from their hands, tweak it, hand it back to them. But this is different. So use Matt Wallace's 3-wood as an example as to how the new kind of world is working for you guys.
Yeah. So Matt is just, we've loved having him on our staff. He's like a 13-year-old kid, in a grown man's body. He gets so excited about golf clubs. And so just kind of last week, he was texting us and he said, "Hey, my bag is perfect. I'm ready to go. I just want to do a little bit of tweaking with my 3-wood. And so he's living down in Jupiter now, and Mike Soroka lives down there. And so, Mike Soroka manages our Corn Ferry Tour. So he ran down actually a 3-wood to him. It wasn't the right shaft, but it was a head, and said, hey, take a look at this, just because we wanted to get a head start. So we started that process on Friday. We texted with him, all throughout the weekend, and, kind of dialed him in. He switched over from the Sub-Zero head to the standard head. And so I told him, I said, we'll get to the truck. We'll start it on Sunday. We'll have it ready for you first thing Monday morning. And as Sunday afternoon comes around, he's texting us, can you send me a picture of my 3-wood? Can you send me a picture of my 3-wood? I'm like, Matt, we haven't got to it yet. I'll send it to you. So he's so excited to be back out here. And so we built him up a 3-wood. We, dropped it off at the sanitation station on Monday, and kind of communicated from inside the ropes and outside the ropes. He said, okay, looks good. Let me go hit some. And then what he did is he actually just kind of shared the TrackMan numbers with us on our phone. Hey, it's spinning a little bit too high. Can we take a little bit loft off to reduce the spin? So, we ran it back through the sanitation station, the sanitation station, the sanitation station. I can't do it. We ran it through there, and, bend it, and it ended up being perfect. And so he's ready to go with it. So those are some of the challenges that we've had.
We got our first question on Facebook. This name looks vaguely familiar. Penny, I think it's Peg Mutzel. Hi, Jeff and Jacob. Hi, Penny. How does this new job differ from his previous job at Callaway? This is a multi-part question, so let's start with that one. Why don't you tell people what you did before managing the PGA Tour?
Yeah, so before managing the PGA Tour, I started last year at the RSM back in November, which was the week before Thanksgiving. But I did all of our junior development on the amateur side. So, I've spent the last 4 years working with the top elite amateurs across the country, which is something that, I thoroughly enjoyed. And so some of the challenges are, when I worked on that side, I traveled by myself. On this side, obviously we're traveling with the team, which is a lot more fun. Having guys working on that team environment makes it a lot of fun. But, at the end of the day, elite golfers are elite golfers. And with the PGA Tour guys, believe it or not, there's a lot of similarities to them with the amateurs. It's just, you're used to seeing them on TV, and they're playing for money. So, but they're all been super nice. We've enjoyed working together, and I look forward to working with them some more.
And before that, though, you were a college golf coach. I think that's maybe what Penny was. I don't know what Penny's. You know what? I've learned never to try to predict what Penny's trying to say, because I get in trouble with that. But and she's always right. But you were a college golf coach, and learning how to build a team, and learning how to take young players and get them to learn the importance of school and graduating and excellence on the golf course. How did that help you how does that help you in your current job now?
Sure. I think, ultimately, we kind of look at the PGA Tour as, kind of a team, and the fact that each player around them kind of has so many different people that are on their performance team. There could be a caddy. There could be
the lights went out here. Apparently we haven't paid the power bills around here.
There could be
what happens when no one's in the office.
There could be a swing coach, a sports psychologist, a caddy, a wife, all those different types of people that are, providing influence on them. And so we're working with them, we're communicating. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned, Jeff, is you got to communicate differently. I got to communicate differently than Matt Wallace, than how I communicate differently than Patrick Rogers. And so really learning their personalities. And some guys, they want to laugh, they want to, be goofy and cut up with them. And Matt Wallace is one of those guys. We like to poke each other and have fun. And there's certain other guys on the staff that are all business. And when they get to Colonial, that's their job, and they have a very structured routine. And unless they ask for help, we don't bother them. Some guys want to go hang out with them or grab dinner at night, those types of things. So I think that's probably been the biggest key is how do you communicate with that person based on their personality.
Yeah, and I think also being a new dad helps too, because you got to learn how to communicate then. That's how old's your daughter now?
She is a little over 3 months, and I am enjoying the nice long night's sleep the last 2 nights here on the road.
I would think you're
changing diapers.
You're the only one. Like, yes, I'll get on a plane. I have no issues flying. I just want to sleep for 3-4 nights in a row, then get home, because when you get home, you're gonna have a lot of work to do when you get there.
Oh yes, I can't wait. Olivia,
that's the fun work. That's the fun work. All right, let's talk about some product testing. I think it's always cool. Look, everyone who's listening and watching this podcast knows Callaway likes to come out with lots of products, and we don't put them out until we think they're better. But the ultimate test of better is in your hands when you have to take them out to the best players in the world. I hear there's maybe been a little bit of product testing going on this week. So let's break a little news.
Sure, sure. So one of the things that we've done through COVID-19 is we've taken a lot of the feedback that we got early on from Maverick with the PGA Tour guys, the Korn Ferry guys, the LPGA and the champions. And so we've spent the last couple months really digging into that and working and collaborating with R&D and, Evan Gibbs and Doc, Alan Hocknell and Tim Reed and Dean has done a good job with that. And so we've had so many Zoom calls and conference calls. And so through that, fortunately for us is we were able to have some prototypes out this week, I should say, that, we've had some guys test the last 2 days and we've seen good results from them. And that really, just kind of in our mind helps check the boxes if we need to make any, fine tune changes to the club, but we're getting them on track, man, trying to get some numbers. And ideally for us is, we want tour feedback because, tour helps lead the design of our driver family. So.
All right, there you hear breaking news first. Some new prototypes being tested this week by Jacob and the PGA Tour team. More to come on that. All right, our next from Mike Karp. Mike's more of a statement here than a question. Loving the Jaws raw finish. He ordered some and they arrived today. Jacob, you got to be very careful with how you answer this question because your boss has just walked into the office. He's more than 6 feet away, so we're doing this right, but we're live, Tim. Jacob doing the podcast. Oh, he's listening to us. All right. Well, make sure you answer this one properly. Let's talk about this tour-only idea to retail and about a raw wedge. Can you just explain why tour pros love raw wedges?
Yeah, I think, ultimately for a tour pro, when they're hitting a bunker shot and they open up the face, if the sun, is above them, there can be a big glare on the wedge in their eyes in the bunker. So I think that, part of it is, having that raw finish where it's not so shiny, allows the players not to have to worry about the glare. Secondly, I think there's a little bit more spin with the raw. And then finally, I think that it just kind of hides any wear or tear on there. When you get the fresh chrome ones, and you hit a bunker shot, it kind of shows a little bit of the nick and scratches. So the raws look really good and, they've been great. Matt Wallace just got a new set of them and actually last week, and he texted me and he said, Jacob, these aren't raw. They look brand new. And I said, Matt, give them a couple days. They're going to rust. And so now they're looking great and he likes them. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Whenever we have Roger Cleveland on, he's always saying you should replace your wedges probably more often than you think you do. Mm-hmm. I think the best way to do it is take advantage of some of these tour offerings and take advantage of the raw wedge, because right away you're going to notice that difference in terms of how like you said, whether it's the sun. I mean, my advice is just don't hit it in bunkers, then you don't have to worry about the reflection. But just the spin profile on these things are amazing, and I'm glad to see so many people have been ordering them. CallawayGolf.com selling quite a bit of those wedges.
They are very popular on the PGA Tour for sure, Jeff.
Yeah, well, if it works for those guys, it should go in your bag at home too. I know I'm going to put some in my bag. Not that it would matter as bad as I'm swinging. That's another story. So talk about the rest of the week. So on a normal week, you guys get in on Sunday. You start Monday morning with kind of a team meeting. You have your goals and objectives for the week. As you said, you have your player list, your targets, what you're looking to do. Obviously, you deal with players, who need, whether it's full adjustments, last second adjustments, travel issues, who knows what. But then you kind of get to the end of the week. And you guys get out of there on Wednesday. So what's the end of the week like as you kind of are trying to put a wrap on a week and make sure that the goals for the week are accomplished?
Sure. So on Wednesday, we're supposed to be off property just after lunchtime. The trucks start packing up and we head to the airport. So, any final things that we need with players, a lot of players procrastinate, wait till the last second and want some things, some last minute changes. They know when the trucks leave. So it's always a little bit hectic getting out of there and we rush off to the airport. And then from there, we spend, kind of the flights going back through all the club builds that we've done, trying to update, all the specs and what we call the playbook just to try to, keep tabs. And then obviously when, we see what goes in play, there's a thing called the Darrel Survey. I'm not sure if most people know what that is, but it actually comes out on Friday afternoon and lets us know, whatever all the clubs that were played. And if there's been any changes, we'll update our files. We'll reach out to the players, let them know, hey, how did it go? Is there, did you like it? Give us some feedback, that type of thing, and plan for next week. So, and then Thursdays, just kind of conference calls, kind of going over the week, setting the goals and milestones for the following week and on into Friday.
All right, I'm going to put you to the test to help our buddy Donald McKnight here. He's on Facebook. He said he had shoulder surgery. And now after I can't have my driver in the air. Well, that could be a product of the shoulder surgery. I tried changing lofts on it. I have the Sub-Zero Epic with the Fujikura green stuff shaft. Any recommendations on what to try shaft wise on the Maverick? What would you say to Donald as he's trying to figure out how to get this thing in the air?
Yeah, I mean that Fujikura shaft's a great shaft. If he's got it on N+2, make sure the white lines are lining up on the cog setting, and then from there, I would definitely check his ball position, make sure he's getting it up there off that left foot, getting a good turn behind it. But being that if it's a 10.5 head with 12.5 loft, with that ball position, it should be launching because that's a pretty high launch shaft there.
Yeah, and I would say swing harder because if you swing harder, you may actually get one in the air. All right, here's another one. THP38 on Twitter wants to say the PGA Tour is back. Yes, it is. How often should you replace your putter? Well, I'm going to give my answer after you give yours. How often should amateurs be replacing their putters? And then why don't you relate it to the day job and talk about what tour pros do?
It's a mix. There's guys out here that change putters every week. There's guys, a specific player that is not on our staff, so I won't use his name, but he actually just sent in 5 of the exact same model putter that he wanted us to refinish. This certain guy has won multiple times with this putter, and he can't go away from it. So there's guys out there like that they fall in love with the putter and they don't change it. Sometimes they'll move into the new inserts, or the Stroke Lab shaft. That's been some change for us. Joe's done a great job with that on guys that were in maybe an older model, but they've seen the benefits of the Stroke Lab shaft. So I would say if you're putting good, don't mess with anything. If you're struggling, I think that most of the time what we see is a lot of times it comes from alignment. And I think with our triple track offering, that's been exceptionally well received on tour, and the mallets that we have, the mallet line is really, we've seen a lot of progress with that helping guys.
So my motto is it's not my fault. So if I putt bad, new putter going in.
Yeah.
But the Stroke Lab Atlanta was the only thing that kind of was doing well this weekend was the Stroke Lab Atlanta. But I'm looking to redeem myself on Friday because Saturday was a bad day when you're 4 down after 5 holes. It's not exactly going to be a fun one. All right, and it wasn't because of anything. It was all me when you hit it out of bounds a lot. Mike Karp, another question: are players on tour starting to look at driver 4-wood rather than driver 3-wood? Is Brendan Grace still using a 4-wood?
Matthew Wallace, we were using a 4-wood with him, actually.
There we go. It's the Matthew Wallace show.
Yeah, it's the Matthew Wallace show. So I definitely think that there's going to be a little bit more movement towards the 4-woods. I think that, especially with us implementing jailbreak, we've seen some increased ball speeds across the face. So, that's a trend that we've definitely noticed. We've talked about that in our meetings with our metal woods, and, we're looking at some of that stuff for next year's line.
And why do you think a 4-wood would be more beneficial for both tour pros and also for amateurs who are listening at home?
Well, I think the majority of players, especially the amateur players, a little more loft's going to help them. It's going to help them from the fairway when they're going through that par 5 and 2, and then a 3-wood or a 4-wood. Most times you're trying to hit a specific number more so than trying to hit it as far as you can. So whether that's hitting it off a shorter hole that's tighter, or trying to stay short of water or a hazard or something like that. You want to make sure that you hit that number, and so that's kind of what we're always trying to do, is hit a specific number with these guys.
Yeah, I think that's something that amateurs don't understand until you're around the pro game, is they're not looking for their 7-iron to go, longer and longer each iteration. They just want it to be the exact same every single time they swing it. What's it like trying to fit people for consistency when, for most of us, speaking as an amateur, that we want to be fit more for distance?
Sure. I think, the tough part and challenge of our job is the analogy that I've kind of used before. And I think maybe even Tim used it one time before and I stole it from him, is, we're kind of a conductor in an orchestra. There's 14 clubs in that bag, and there's a golf ball, and they each have a specific role. And, if you change one, it could affect the others. So, we're constantly trying to monitor the driver and the irons and, launch and spin and make sure they're all hitting their numbers. And that's really where our job is if they make a swing change with their swing instructor and maybe, their attack angle has changed, which has brought spin down, we can easily adjust that with the driver right away. But, what does that do with the irons? Do we need to change the lofts? Do we need to change the lies? Do we need to look at different shafts? The grooves are getting worn off. maybe the ball's not spinning enough because their irons are worn out. So simple things like that, we got to be proactive. We got to communicate with their team and make sure that everyone is kind of, working in unison. And when that happens, it's just like an orchestra. You get that beautiful piece of music, and hopefully for us, that's when guys are, in the final group and lifting the trophy on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, so a couple more questions for you with Jacob Davidson, who manages our PGA Tour team here for Team Callaway. He is at Colonial right now, and you'll be at Hilton Head next week. That's almost a home game for you.
Yes, it is. I live just across the river in Savannah, so a 45-minute drive. Looking forward to it, and what we call the Low Country of Georgia there. So we're excited about that. Harbor Town's one of the best golf courses on tour all year. So
yeah, it'll be fun to see. Shot shaping really kind of come back into golf. Really, these first 2 weeks, right, with Colonial, such a shot makers golf course, and then followed by Harbor Town. How much does the golf course impact what your week is like? Meaning, when you see players, I mean, a lot of places like Colonial and Harbor Town have been in the rotation for years. You've not a lot of players maybe playing them that haven't in the past. But how much does the golf course change your week in terms of the players' needs?
Yeah, absolutely a lot. Matt Neesmith, for instance, today, was saying, hey, I want a wedge with a little more bounce. So we've been working with him based on the lies around Colonial. We built up a different 3-wood for Jim Furyk, and believe it or not, Jim Furyk said, hey, I want a 3-wood that just goes a little bit shorter. I'm not going to use it for this week. The 3-wood that I have is perfect because I'm going to be hitting it more out here. But, he's starting to plan for, other events to have that backup. So a guy like that, he may have a 3 or 4 wood that he puts in the bag based on the course setup, tons with wedges around the greens. And, so we do see that more so, especially early in the year when you go from the West Coast down to the East Coast, the wind starts changing, the weather starts changing, those types of things. But, when it's hot like this, guys get, pretty much into a rhythm and their bodies are working so well. And usually you start seeing them hit it a little bit further. So sometimes we have to take that into account.
All right, Steve G, what part of your game needs to be the sharpest to compete at Colonial? Herd accuracy is a key. Well, you heard right, Steve. What do you think after, have you been able to see the golf course at all or not really?
I walked a couple holes on the way up to drop off some of Mickelson's golf balls, the triple track golf balls up at the player concierge lounge, and the golf course is in phenomenal shape. The wind was blowing today, but this is my first time at Colonial, so I don't have a lot of experience to it. So it does look like, I would say, accuracy. And then, obviously scores are typically pretty low here. So the putter's got to be pretty hot, to shoot some low numbers to compete to win.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments working Colonial was I got to work as part of the broadcast team when Annika played. So that was certainly a highlight for me. But one of the other highlights of this field every year is the past champions that they invite back. And one of those past champions, who I believe probably wins the award for most frequent visitor on the truck this week, is our buddy Olin Brown. Olin was on our podcast a couple weeks ago and was on No Laying Up's podcast. If you haven't checked that out, check out the No Laying Up podcast from Monday with Olin. What's it been like seeing Olin out there, 61 years young, out there trying to compete with the youngins?
Yeah, so I think he is the oldest person on our staff. So it's the first time I met Olin this week. So, I've heard a ton about him. He's a good friend, family of Callaway, I should say. And so, going up and introducing myself to him, and I asked him, I said, Mr. Brown, and of course, Olin, don't call me Mr. Brown, but, I said, how long have you been with Callaway? And I said, I think he said 91 was when he first came on. And I said, well, that was interesting. I was born in 1987, and he didn't like that. So it was, we had a lot of fun with that. But Olin's a great guy. I've enjoyed getting to know him. Just a great advocate for Callaway, and his old buddy Dean's out this week, and Dean's been working on golf clubs for him for a long time, and so they're dialing in some stuff, and he's worked us pretty hard this week. But I think he's ready to go. I mean, he seems positive, and what a great golf course for him to compete on. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see him go out and play well this week.
Yeah, I saw him down at Medalist before the match, and he was out there grinding on the range. And his son, Olin Brown Jr., actually played in a little test for us, an equipment test to see if our stuff worked. And I mean, hits the ball a ton. But what's interesting about Olin Sr. is he was, I believe, one of the first PGA Tour pros, if not the first, that Mr. Callaway himself signed.
That
and has never left the Callaway family. So just incredible loyalty, has been kind of with the company through the ups and downs, but has always been a proponent and is a true tinkerer with the golf club, and just loves to try. You talk about Matt Wallace getting excited. I think Olin probably takes the cake at being super excited about new clubs.
Yes. Yep. Yep. That's true. And that's rare in today's environment to see someone be that loyal and have that type of legacy with a brand. And of course, we're very appreciative of that. And he's just like I said, just a great friend and family at Callaway. So.
Yeah. All right, Jacob. Well, you have a lot of media work to do. You're going to be on the golf magazine, golf.com podcast tomorrow. I mean, you're just making like a regular media tour. I don't know. Maybe you're going to can you do Fallon or kind of one of those shows at night?
Oh man,
Try to sneak it
no.
in?
No, we've been busy, so it's been I broke away, and the team, of course, they gave me a hard time for leaving
Yeah.
scheduling the podcast, and I blamed it on you. I said I wanted to go later, and so
Yeah, well, I have to say I'm disappointed. I didn't get one text from Johnny or Dean or Soroka the whole time
that's
or
because they're
Sposa while we're
working.
doing this.
They're
I
working.
get it. I mean, Tim at least came down here to say hi and make sure that he acknowledged that you were doing this. So that's a good thing.
They have not come up for air today. Like I said, it's been busy, and those guys. I mean, I can't tell you how proud I am, the effort and the whole team, and it's been fun to see how everything's come together, and we're excited about it. We got 28 staffers in the field, and excited to see golf back on TV, and hopefully we'll have a Callaway staffer there playing good late on Sunday.
Yep. Well, I'm going to be all weekend watching. I can't wait. Tuesday on the Callaway Golf Podcast. That'll be our next one. We normally do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you know what? This Thursday, enjoy the PGA Tour. They're giving out free PGA Tour live. So start early, watch the entire day. There's a Twitter cast with all different personalities. Tell Dean I tried to get him a spot on there. We couldn't quite pull it off. But so many great opportunities. So just focus on watching the great PGA Tour golf. We've all missed it for so long.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday is a very special day for us all at Callaway. Phil is turning 50, and that's 50 with a PH. So we're going to have some members of the Mickelson family on our podcast. I can't tell you who because we don't know yet, but one of at least has said yes, and I'm sure we'll have many members of Team Phil. Might even try to get Coach to come on for a few minutes, but
Yeah.
that is an exciting day for all of us. You guys have anything special planned for Phil, or you want to just keep that as a surprise? Because he listens. Since he's been on the podcast, he listens now.
We do. We have some things planned for next week, and so
Okay.
we can't officially have him on the truck since
Right.
the whole COVID things, but we're gonna mess with him a little bit and poke him, and maybe tell him how old he is. So maybe there's a 50 on his golf ball when he opens it up in his locker next week.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know if he'd appreciate that or not, but.
Well, I would say this: if you're a fan of Phil, and we know everybody is, pay attention to Callaway's social channels this weekend. There's going to be an opportunity for you to say happy birthday to Phil yourself, and potentially win some pretty amazing autographed items from Lefty himself, and maybe even a new club.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned. All right, Jacob, thanks so much for spending a little bit of time with us. Good luck the rest of the week. I know tomorrow will be a little bit of a grind before you get out of there, but travel safe, and we look forward to catching up with you soon, and we look forward on Tuesday to having some Mickelsons. We're going to do a full Phil podcast on Tuesday. We'll see you then, everyone. Stay safe.
See you, Jeff. Thanks.
You guys are clear. Great job.
All right. Thanks, man. You're awesome. Cool. That was really good.
All right, Jeff.
Really,
thanks.
really good. All right. Enjoy the rest of the night.